Hello, welcome to week 10. In this video, we are going to talk about the effect of culture on negotiation. Hope you learned something by watching this video. After watching this video, you should be able to analyze the culture in business. Negotiators in an international context are participating in a communicative event where assumptions and expectations may not be shared. Participants cannot assume that the opposite party will have motives that shine with their own view of the world, or that the behavior displayed by both parties, even if similar in nature, reflects similar motives. There are three facets of negotiation in an international context according to Usunie in 2003. The first one is behavior predisposition of the parties. The second one is underlying concept of negotiation. And the third one is negotiation process. Let's talk about behavioral predisposition of the parties. The first element is interpersonal orientation. The individualism or collectivism dimension that you learned in week 2 is an appropriate method of analysis in this element. Negotiators from cultures deemed to be collectivists tend to avoid open conflict and prefer to maintain formal harmony during negotiation, while while those from cultures deemed to be individualists are expected to act more in self-interest and will not shy away from being overtly competitive and confrontational. The second element is power orientation. This dimension relates to the question of who has formal influence and who has actual influence on the negotiating process. The third element is willingness to take risks. This is closely related to power orientation. Negotiators from strictly controlled bureaucracies where approval for any deal involves the approval of a number of bodies or committees may well be reluctant to take as many risks as negotiators who need to consult their superiors less often, having been delegated negotiating power and a certain room for maneuver. This has clearly to do with uncertainty avoidance tendency of certain cultures. The next facet is underlying concept of negotiation. There are two elements. The first one is negotiation strategies. The integrative approach, whereby negotiation teams collaborate to get the best results, may be regarded as the most effective form of negotiating in Western business literature. The context, however, is implicitly an intracultural one, whereby both sides agree to work together to get a so-called win-win result. In an intercultural situation, however, the oppositional nature of negotiating may come to the fore if one or both sides do not trust their counterparts, or if one or the other team doesn't feel that the best deal is necessarily the best for them. The second element is strategic time frame. The idea of following a logical process starting with orientation, then coming to a series of agreements, possibly in some form of package, and then closing a deal within some agreed on time limit will contrast strongly with what could be called the dialogue approach. Negotiating is considered to be just part of a dialogue between business parties, whereby any deals made are not necessarily regarded as immutable, but as a reflection of the wish to initiate or continue cooperation. The third facet is negotiation process. The fourth element is styles of negotiation. With different concepts of negotiation come different styles. This is where the universalism particularism dimension that you studied in week 3 can be reflected in the way negotiations are made. Is the focus on general issue or is there a concern for dealing with a range of specific issues? The high or low context dimension that we discussed in week 4 plays a key role in the style of communication during negotiations. Low context negotiators are more explicit, exact, and direct than high context negotiators. The last element is outcome orientation. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you learned something. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you learned something new and useful. And see you next week.